Welcome to the Lansing Connection. I'm Senator Nancy Cassis. Thank you for inviting us once again into your homes. I represent most of Western Oakland County, the 15th Senate District. As we have had a number of people come and bring to us important information about what's going on in Lansing, I wanted to continue having guests who would be here to inform you about the latest that is going on, issues important to you and to your families. Last month we talked about tax issues, very important here in the state of Michigan to all of us. This month our commentary will be focused on education, and I'm pleased to introduce to you two very important and special people that I work with each and every week on educational issues. As you probably know, I am a member of the Senate Education Committee, very important committee in the state Senate. With me today is our Education Senate Policy Advisor, Ann Blankenhorn. Ann, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Senator.
And my education legislator, who happens to be my Director of Educational Issues, and that's Kristin Fair. We're glad to have you both here. You work so closely together and with me on these issues. Today, more than ever, we are certainly aware that a trained and skilled, educated workforce is essential to Michigan's future. And to that end, I have been working with Ann and with Kristin on some very important legislation, actually that dates back to about 2005. It's called Save the Children, Early Intervention and Prevention of Learning Failure. And I thought what I'd do is just give a very brief overview of what we were trying to do and where the idea came from, and then let you both take it from there and share with our listeners and viewers where we are at this point. The idea for early intervention and prevention of failure, kindergarten through third grade, really stems way back in my educational career at the University of Michigan under a mentor named Dr. Bill Morse. Dr. Morse really was an inspiration and way ahead of his time in terms of getting schools to look at children who might be getting behind and trying to find out what was it that was keeping them from their education success. And then intervene appropriately. You have to ask the right questions and then intervene and get them started on the path to being full students, reaching their potential. As a former school psychologist, I believed in that model, and while I was there in Novi schools, we did a lot to ensure that children would have proper interventions before being referred to special education, which is so costly. Northfield Public Schools had as their special education director a man named, that you are acquainted with, Dr. Robert Sorensen. And his program at Northville really then created within all of us the desire to see if we could not present a program that the state could become involved in, get behind, support, so that we could have model programs for early intervention and prevention of learning failure. That brought us up to about 2 years ago when we started on our quest. Ann, would you like to explain how you became involved and then what we did in terms of legislation?
Sure.
Okay.
I think first of all what caught my attention, Senator, was the fact that I had always been interested in this area because I knew that fully 1/3 of all special ed students only have reading difficulties, and so they're placed into special ed at the end of third grade because they are not reading up to grade level. And so we got together, and I was really excited about this, and we noticed that in Northville, in Dr. Sorensen's program, that the special ed numbers were actually going down as a result of this program, whereas statewide they've been going up all these years. So that impressed me as well. And what the program does is it looks at each individual child's learning needs to see what can be done in the beginning to remove any barriers to learning that they might have. It might involve motor skills, it might involve vision and hearing testing, all sorts of reasons that a child might have different barriers. Once those barriers are discovered, then the policy is to get together a team within the school, which could involve the principal, the reading consultant, maybe a social worker, the parent, and the classroom teacher, and others that might be needed to figure out what exactly needs to be done to help these students overcome the barriers, and especially with the reading, with math as well, because of the motor skills and sensory skills and that sort of thing, to overcome these barriers so they can be good readers, read at grade level, and be able to compute at grade level too in the math. So what we did is we developed a categorical program for the budget, got it into the budget I think a year ago, and it passed the budget, and we got to the middle of the fiscal year and realized there was a deficit, and there were programs within the budget that had not been, where the money had not been sent out yet, and unfortunately this was one of those programs. So a total of $5 million in dollars was not sent out by the Department of Education yet, and this program was part of that money, and so it was never sent out, so the program was never established. Even though Dr. Sorensen is sharing his knowledge all over the state, we wanted to have a pilot program to help spread the good practice. So because that did not get in last year, we have not given up. Senator has not.
Well, let me ask you right here and mention, it was not just the money that had to be decided to be used in for other purposes because of the deficit. But what happened to the program? What did the governor decide to do?
She repealed the program.
Yeah.
So that was not very helpful from our point of view. So we thought, as you know, I'm sure most people know, the viewers, that we're in a deficit right now, and so we're having a difficult time finding money for the program. So we thought, just knowing the way things are fiscally right now in the state, that the best approach for this year would be to put a section into the budget which says that the intermediate school districts may develop such a plan, which would be helpful to local school districts that they could use. That way we are not requiring that they do this, and we don't need to have the added funds in order to accomplish it.
This was really creative thinking, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
In other words, when presented with a problem, you don't give up, especially if you know that what you are trying to do really will save so many children from failure. So we persisted, and we found that our intermediate school districts, are there about 81 of them?
I think there are 57, but it's Section 81 is what I think you're thinking of in the budget, Section 81. So yeah, there are that many.
Some 50, some odd ISDs throughout the state and the counties that really are kind of like an umbrella over the local school districts. Mm-hmm. If they start a model program, they then can outreach to their school districts and present this. And it's presented, I hope, in two ways. One, that so many children will benefit and become capable, competent learners, mm-hmm. and not need further services that are expensive. Mm-hmm. And secondly, it will save schools tremendous costs. We know that over the course of a single student who requires special education, those costs go anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 per student. Mm-hmm. So imagine, just like Northville was able to implement such a program under Bob Sorensen, mm-hmm. and they just are so excited to continue it. Yeah. They have saved, what was it, Kristin?